And action. Hello everyone, my name is Jesse Gaines and I'm coming to you from Eugene, Oregon. This is my hair studio. I co-own this with one of my dear friends. Her name's Renee. She is a lifelong friend and we're based out of Eugene, Oregon. And I'm excited to be joining you. So if you're coming on here and you're from all across the United States, Canada, anywhere in Europe, please say hello. Give me a wave. I got my buddy Travis here. He is also a very high-end barber. His handle is Travis Anthony Hair, so please give him a follow. And if you have any questions at any time, please shout out. I love to interact. I love to answer any questions. There's no dumb questions. This actually can be as good as the questions that are being asked. So we're just gonna wait a few minutes to let some more people jump on here. So anybody shouting out? Please.
We got Keaton Canoy from Chicago. He says hi from Chicago.
What's up? Good to hear from you.
Hello everybody. Hey from Minnesota.
This is pretty incredible with this technology. I know that we're in this pandemic, but we can stay connected. We can share our knowledge, our love of the industry, and I love that I have hair friends from all over the United States, from Croatia to all over Europe, even Australia. So this has really united the hair community, and I'm just honored to be able to come on R&Co's Facebook page, just take over, and it's just a cool way that we're beginning to be able to collaborate and hear different voices and just add to and elevate the craft of hairdressing. So to start with, I'm going to jump over here to the head sheet and to give you a little bit of a vision of what we're going to create today. So this is going to be a razor cut cropped shag. I will be using the razor throughout the whole haircut, and I am going to use a feather razor. We're going to be starting just right here at the nape. And if you come up here, what I want you to see is that we're going to be going from shorter to these longer lengths. And each of these sections is going to be disconnected, but you'll see what we're going to do right here. We're going to come over here to the haircut. First of all, starting with the razor. And coming in nice and close here. So what I've done already is I started in the center middle. I started my guide. That's a traveling guide. I'm keeping on base each of these sections. And I'm going to show you as I work from the center to the left. So taking that center section, you can tell I have a little nerves because my hands are shaky. So please ask questions at any time. Woo. It's funny with these things. Knowing that there's an audience somewhere out there in the world. So I'm taking vertical sections in the back. I'm taking half of the last section. I'm going to be pulling it out at 90 degrees with no over direction. And there's my guide right here. It's about 3.5 inches, and I'm gonna start etching that out. And as I etch it out, I'm gonna be working down the head shape. So it's getting longer and longer as I layer through that. So now, taking half of that section, combing it out of the way, keeping super clean through my sectioning. Taking another vertical section. My hands will chill out here in a second. Pulling it directly off the head with no over direction. Seeing my guide right there, I'm going to start and just kind of lightly etch out all the way to the end. So what's fun with these haircuts is that there is so many ways to cut a shag haircut. I know there's been a lot online. This is my own rendition on it, and I hope you can learn something from this technique. So taking another vertical section, each one is mirroring the last section before it. So notice that my footwork, so vertically, this is layered where it's going shorter to longer, just like so, where there's almost like this C shape. So I'm going shorter and inchier and going towards keeping some of that length. These looks are very relevant with our clients right now. And so my footwork, if I'm cutting a square in the back, this is my footwork, but horizontally speaking, I'm having this kind of curve around. So my footwork is going to look like this. You think of this as dance moves. I'm working in this circular manner around here. So I'm not living right here. You know how that dance move? We're actually working our way around. So everything, I'm always heart-centered right in front of my section, and that helps me keep my balance from center to the right and also center to the left. So just a little tidbit there. Any questions, Travis?
None yet.
Pulling that directly out the head shape. You can clearly see my guide. I'm just gonna edge that right out. I really like working with a razor. It's very fluid, it's very fun. I think when you're working with a razor, I think a couple tidbits, always work with a fresh razor on every new haircut. The second thing is to have the hair perfectly prepped. So I have it, did a little conditioning treatment on our girl here. And I put some nice leave-in conditioner, put some of the oil from R&Co just to make sure that she is perfectly prepped for this haircut. The hair is nice and smooth and has a nice glide to it.
Adam Federico says, always lead with the heart.
Always lead with the heart. So notice in my body position, I'm working it so I don't have any over direction. And I know that the vision of this haircut in my head, you know, I talked about the head sheet. When I'm thinking about this, I'm actually gonna go, it's gonna be a nice round shape, and I'm actually gonna go a little shorter towards the front. So I don't wanna keep it super square or very blocky. I want this to just cascade down the head. So right now I'm just gonna look quickly for a little bit of balance. So I see that I have really nice balance there. And notice that this is cascades down. The last thing I'm worried about right now is the length. I want to preserve all these tendrils, and I want to keep as much length as possible so when the hair is dry, I can lightly refine that. All right, working back up the head. Notice back here on the head sheet. So this is the first section we just did. I have the back of the head broken up into 3 different sections, so in thirds. So right here it's going to encompass right where the occipital bone is, so it's right below it and right above it. We're going to continue that pattern. So if you look back here, we're going to break this in thirds, so right in half here. I'm just going to do a horizontal section. Keeping it nice and clean. All right, anybody saying hello from all over the world? We know that people kind of watch these things whenever they, at their own convenience, which is really great.
Mikey Denton says, you break it down really well.
All right, what's up, Mikey?
What's up, Mikey?
Mikey knows both of us. All right. Looking for visual balance. Just need to take a little bit off more right here.
Teddy Cano says, hi, Jesse.
Oh, hi, Teddy. Is it Teddy, right?
Yes.
How you doing, Teddy? All right, so on to the next section. I actually think of sectioning almost like a form of art in itself. I think clean sections done well. I think behind the chair, what it shows your client or your guest is that you take your profession very seriously, that you're very meticulous, and it puts them at ease. There's just a calmness. I find my clients will end up just closing their eyes and really appreciating the experience. And say, for example, you guys, if you have a very full day where you're just cranking, and I think we're about to jump into that, where we're gonna have more clients that we know what to do with. I think it's really important, if you're in like a haircut, maybe like a bob that's very precision based, I think it's important to tell your client that if you need to be quiet and focus on your work, just tell them what you're doing. So you want to put them at ease. You're like, this takes a lot of focus and a lot of expertise, and they seem like they always really honor that. So they're always kind of excited, like, oh, I can be quiet, or I can just focus on my haircut. So, all right, so keeping this vertical sections right in the center middle, I'm actually not connecting it to the bottom. So what I did is on these YS Park combs, they have the centimeter mark, and approximately at 9 centimeters, which is about 3.5 inches, I created my first guide. So I look here, and I can go, boom, it's right there. And so I can just have a nice visual reference. So that is going to be very similar here. So looking at the head sheet, I'm going to go from right about 3.5 inches and just cascade that out. So just put the camera on me for a second. So the layers are going to look like, they're going to go shorter to cascading to be longer. And then they're going to go shorter again and to longer. And this longer bit is actually going to fall right over that in a disconnected manner. So you'll see this right here. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to elevate at 90 degrees with no over direction, and I cut that C shape right in there. I can see that guide that I just made right there. And as that falls out, you're seeing that disconnection, just like we talked about. And so that's really fluid. I want to work from the middle, taking the half that section. So I have a nice traveling guide. And I'm just going to rinse and repeat. So I had someone reach out to me recently, and I have yet to get back with him. But he was from Ireland, which is pretty cool. And he does a podcast where he interviews people, and he asks them one simple question. So he has people from all over the world that have responded to this. And he asked them one question of how you got started in your field, which I thought was pretty cool. All right, so I pull it 90 degrees off the head, see my guide, see that fall out, and it's kind of easing that in. And my story is kind of interesting, and it might be like some of yours, but what got me into hairdressing was I was just starting out my junior year in high school, and I went to the local, barber shop, one of those places that you sit down. It's very corporately based. I won't name names, but the lady asked me what I wanted. I could see that she really wasn't listening, which is unfortunate. And she proceeded to give me the worst haircut of my life. And that worst haircut of my life ended up being the catalyst for me becoming a hairstylist. Because as I was watching her, I'm like, why am I paying for this? I probably could go home and do a better job myself. So that's what I did. I went home and I fixed my haircut. And I cut my own hair for about 6 months and really started to enjoy it. And one day I had a friend come over, his name is Brandon, and he desperately needed a haircut. So, lo and behold, he talked me into it, and he said, you know what? He's like, if you mess up, just shave it off. But two things happened. One, I had a great time doing it. Two, it turned out great. And three, he became obsessed with his hair. So I started cutting his hair on the regular every 2 weeks. And that one friend, you know how it goes. One friend turns into 2 friends, turns to all my friends. So I started a little bit of like a small business when I was in high school, cutting people's hair for $3 to $5 a piece. So it was pretty funny, but just showed that I had a natural knack for it. I loved cutting hair, but going to beauty school was another story. That was a completely different ballgame. So for those that are just joining me, as you can see, I'm working with a razor. We're doing a shag look today. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing these C shapes that are kind of cascading out. So we're working a lot on the underneath part. There's actually no over direction. A lot of times at this part of the haircut, people say always over direct, but because I'm actually going shorter towards the front, this is not important that I over direct at this part. I really want that shag look. All right, so seeing my guide, letting that just cascade down, just staying really consistent. As you can see, the razor is just gliding through the hair. And we had previously talked about just that perfect prep, using leave-in conditioners, making sure that you condition the hair really well, and it's nicely saturated. All right, any more questions on the front?
No new questions. There was someone from India, though. Bridget Jones from India.
Bridget Jones from India.
Aaron Munoz from Huntington Beach says hello.
All right, hello, Aaron. All right, let's continue with these vertical sections. Now I'm splitting the hair in half. I'm really going to keep this hair nicely groomed to the side. I'm going to take another vertical section, and that guide will travel with me all the way to the left here as I stay with no over direction. I'm staying right in front of my sections, elevating at 90 degrees here. You can see right where that leads off. something that's not always talked about in hairdressing is the flow state that you can get into in a haircut. Just that really rhythmic, you do the same thing over and over and over again. Sometimes people get in this state when they do like a weave or a full weave because you're doing something very methodically throughout the whole head. So that's kind of what happens with a haircut like this, especially with the razor. Very soothing. I've heard it said that hair cutting, specifically more precision-based hair cutting, can almost put you into like a trance, or it can be like a form of meditation, which I've definitely had that experience. So how's everybody doing out there?
Kira Lacely from Petaluma Hair Company says hello.
Hello, hello. Just cruising on over here, just keeping it super clean. No over direction, just pulling it out. See my guide. So this is one of those hair trends that I think isn't going to go away for a while. We saw the hair trend where a lot of precision bobs were very in vogue for a little bit, and that structure has still remained, but it's more like these lived-in looks. I think especially when our clients are going to come back, they're going to have a lot more hair to play with, and then what some of them are going to realize in the meantime, I know with some of my clients that sometimes have a hard time getting in, if I haven't seen them for a while, their haircut will transition into a new place, and they, lo and behold, will say, hey, I kind of like this. So it kind of gives them a little bit of a taste of something different than they can do. So I think that we should be ready to create something new on our clients as we're all going to be very, very busy, and some of us from around the world are already back at it. So this is a good chance to give them more of that lived-in, shaggy, sexy look. So pulling that directly out. See my guide really clearly there. All right. Sitting right in front of my son. Even with doll heads, you have to make sure that you have really good balance. Just gonna loosen her up a little bit here. Make sure she's like that. And just want to take just probably the most minute amount of this section. Bring the hair down, and for visual balance, I can kind of see where the looks nice from side to side. Much better. All right, going to the last section in the back. Throughout the whole haircut, what I've really aimed at is having it, just make sure that each section you're resaturating in a very balanced manner. Just make sure you have that consistency, especially if you're using the razor. So with this, because going up in the head shape just a little bit, I want to make sure that it brings, if it would be a client, I just would bump the chair down to make sure I'm really comfortable, especially because I'm going to be elevating this at 90 degrees as it gets to the crown area.
Aaron Munoz asks, do you have a favorite brand of mannequin to use when you cut?
This has been new for me. This is a new doll head, which I've been really enjoying. I like the darker hair. I like that some of the frustrations I've had with past ones is one that sometimes they're, this might sound kind of funny, but some of their faces are really hard to look at. So I find that this doll head is a little bit more neutral looking, so that's kind of nice. I think like because I do hair at my house sometimes with practicing, sometimes it will like scare my kids if they're like so shocking looking. So this doll head's really nice, but this one has really nice hairlines, and like that density is really nice, and the consistency of the hair is really even. So this one is from Federico Advanced, and I know that just contact them on their Facebook or Instagram, and they can hook you up with those mannequin heads. So continuing this section, coming back here to the sheet, we're done right, that nape area above and below the occipital, and moving towards the lower crown and the rest of the back of the head. So I'm going to be elevating this at 90 degrees. I have my nice guide right here. It's going to be traveling. I'm going to be disconnecting each of these sections just very gracefully. It's going to give this nice, beautiful cascading effect, but I'm staying with these vertical sections. And there will be no over direction in this part of the haircut. So notice how low her hair is, so I can elevate that up, see where that guide is, and kind of just cascade that right there.
Nita Pita asks, which prep products did you use?
All right, so here you go. So I use this. This is the smoothing oil from R&Co. It's just a nice oil. I used the perfect shampoo and conditioner. I left the conditioner in for just a little bit longer, but it gave a really beautiful slip and add that moisture that the hair was missing. So both of those products are really wonderful to use as prep products. I'm a big fan of oils when it comes to doing razor cuts. All right. Cruising on up. See my guide. I'm a big fan of just being in a good body position where my body is comfortable. I know the older I get, the more I want to protect my body, and I don't know about you, but if I work too much, my body starts breaking down. So just a little tidbit, something that you don't always hear in a class is getting your regular massages, making sure you're doing your, I like to do some restorative yoga, that really helps me out. And also eating well is a huge thing. And I think with that said, something I do personally is I try to stay from like carb heavy meals in my work time, because carbs, as we know, turn into sugar, and sugar can make you have those highs and those lows. So if I stay away from like a very high carb diet, then I stay very even and my energy is very consistent throughout the day. So I don't feel like I'm bonking halfway through the day, which is really nice. Sometimes those practical tips are huge.
So Sonia asks, just joining, what's the cut today?
All right, so to give you a little bit of a recap, we are doing a modern shag. We're using a razor, and it's going to be a little bit more cropped on top. It's going to cascade down where we're preserving a lot of the layers, and they're really going to cascade. So it was taken into 3 sections, 1, 2, and 3 in the back. I parted right at the crown, and each of these start about 3 inches, and they cascade down to continue to have as much length as possible. So it starts from shorter down to longer, shorter down to longer, and then shorter down to longer, where I'm starting about approximately 3 to 3.5 inches, and I'm just cascading that down. So I'm actually, each of these sections is disconnected, but it will have this really beautiful flow from the top of the head down to the bottom.
And then Elizabeth Miller asks, where are you taking your guide from as you move up the head?
So each of these sections, when I started just at the nape here, they all stay disconnected from each other. So it's about 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches. So going right up there, you're creating a new guide every single time in the center middle. So I hope that answers your question. So right here, I have half of the guide from the center middle. I can see that really clearly, but as you can see, I'm going to have it disconnected from that layer, but just right below it. So you're having 3 very distinct disconnected layers, but they lay on top of each other in such a fluid way that they almost become invisible from where they start and where they end. See my guide. This is that flow state I was talking about, where you just really get in that consistent flow. For those that are just joining, I'm taking this vertical section, I'm elevating directly off the head shape at 90 degrees. With no over direction, I'm cutting the C-shaped layer where it goes from shorter on the interior towards longer as I go to the exterior. All right, continue with this guide. We're almost working our way all the way to the side. Pulling that directly up, 90 degrees. See my guide, and just cascading that out. It's so fun working with the razor, and love the sound of it. When I teach hands-on courses, the one thing I do notice is that a lot of times some of the students will try to almost attack the hair with the razor, but if you have the razor at the right angle, you'll feel that it just peels right off in this beautiful way. So never feel forced. Tension is crucial, hair preparation is crucial, but then having that right angle. So see these layers? It just kind of melts all the way down, and it's kind of skinnier at the bottom. I like those kind of multi kind of looks where you just kind of have those like, beautiful little tendrils. It's not actually easy to come by, but we are creating it today. All right, now we're at the whole another section of the hair. Get this hair re-wet. How are we doing for time, Travis?
We are good. Yeah, we're good.
Awesome.
About 30 minutes in right now.
Perfect. All right, connecting the sides from the back. Taking a little bit of this section. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the new section. And I'm not trying to get longer as we go towards the front. So what I'm gonna do is stay really on base with no over direction. So going directly up, elevating 90 degrees, see my guide. So from the front, what you'll notice is like right here, you're gonna have like this expanded shape and then it's gonna just cascade down. And I love those looks. I think sometimes when you look at a picture, you're wondering how they're creating that look. This is one of the ways to create that look. And I don't know about you guys, but my clients need as much help as possible, that the hair almost has to do itself. And they'll really notice a huge difference because some of our clients are really good at styling, but many of them are not. So the better that the haircut can be and help assist them to create the look with almost an effortless way, that's really serving them, and they see a difference and they will come back for more every single time. Always taking half of that last section, adding it to a new section, rinse and repeat. So combing that out of the way, getting that new section, staying very clean. As you can tell, maybe just span out from my body, you can see that I call it like an athletic stance, but it helps me be very comfortable and helps me to have that really consistent flow. I notice for myself, if I get uncomfortable, the work starts to get sloppy. So make sure that you're making sure that your body is in alignment so that you're not causing yourself extra stress.
Generally, how big are you taking your sections?
I would say the width of them is approximately about half an inch. So seeing that guide, I'll just work my way all the way to the front here. Just maybe one or two more sections. And then we're gonna do something kind of fun once we get to the very front of the hairline. So just finishing up this guide. See my guide really clearly there. So consistency in a haircut like this is absolutely crucial. I would say universally, that's just a true statement. Consistency with hair is like it's a really imperative thing. There's a quote, I think it's a really important one, and one to put in your memory bank. The quote is, "It's better to be consistently good than occasionally great." And if anybody's ever taken a class with me, you may have heard me say that. But as hairstylist, I think one of the biggest disservices, and I hear it time and time again from different people that sit in my chair when they come from other salons or just around the block is they can say that they went to a stylist, and maybe that stylist gave them the best haircut of their life, but it was followed with one of the worst haircuts of their life. So I think it's imperative, if they can just be consistently good, if we as stylists can be consistently good, it's way better than just hitting a home run and then all of a sudden leaving someone really like, it's almost like you've introduced them to something that's really beautiful and then all of a sudden you can never recreate it. How you recreate it is by being really intentional with your guides, knowing what you're creating and how you're creating it. Because I actually have recreated this on this separate doll head that you'll see here in a second. So the quote is, it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. So Travis, I'm gonna have you get this side profile right here. And what you'll notice is this is kind of like, it has a little more volume here. And it kind of just eases into these like little bits. And I'm gonna worry about the length at the very end. But in just this front piece, I'm very intentional. I want to make sure I open up the face a little bit here. So I'm gonna go in here kind of a little shorter and then kind of go towards a little bit longer. I'm gonna do this all in one section just because I've already layered this quite a bit. So I'm gonna pull this directly out, 45-degree angle. And about 1.5 inches, I'm gonna go in and just kind of peel some of that out. I'm gonna follow that up by just adding a little bit of openness, just right there and there. Because I know what I'm trying to create. All right, so now, we look at it from the front perspective. Just really open up that face shape, and this will just, what you're seeing is like a lot of layers towards it kind of cascading down. I love that look. All right, starting on the opposite side. Do I get any shout outs from anywhere around the world? Anybody watching wants to say hello? Any questions? Once again, thank you to R&Co for allowing me the privilege of taking over your Facebook page. Thank you for my friend Travis here for helping me out. I'm just gonna tilt her head a little bit to the side and stay really good. A little less. There we go. Any of you guys know who Bob Ross is? It's really funny because I would think that like that would age me, but Bob Ross came back with a vengeance. A lot of people know who he is, but when I teach haircutting, sometimes I think of Bob Ross because what he would do is he would make things look so simple, and then he would bring you into his world, which I think was a pretty cool thing. So notice that my hands are coming from the top down. Before I was over here, coming on the opposite side, but this way is way more comfortable on this side. All right, so I'm looking for my guy. You can see right here, about 3.5 inches. I'm gonna ease that out. Any questions coming through?
Nothing. Douglas McCoy put peace sign and a heart.
What's up, Douglas? How are you, buddy? He's also from the Northwest, up in Washington. Also a wonderful R&Co educator. So see my guide there. I'm just gonna chew that right out. Just cruising on here.
So when you made your guide to move away from the back of the head and move forward towards the front,
Yeah.
Did you just take a piece of the back and use that as your guide?
That's exactly right. So coming around to the side here, go ahead and come over here, Travis. So I just took a little bit of this piece back here. I took half of the new section, half of the old section, and just bring it around. What I want to do is consistently have it be on base with no over direction, coming 90 degrees off the head shape. So these are things that are happening in my head. You can see it's cascaded nice and down there. And so what it does is it layers it a lot more up here, and some of this stuff is going to cascade over that. So these are the shapes that, it's a type of silhouette that's so beautiful and so pleasing and so easy to style. Very versatile, very like relevant. And so you're going to be able to see the end result here just very shortly. I have a pre-done mannequin head that I've already done. I can see my guide. I know it's going to be coming out there.
So Kiera asks, would this look work with wavy girls?
Oh, it's incredible. Especially if you're really wanting to keep a lot of their natural wave, or they have more of an organic look, and they just want to maybe add a little bit of product, scrunch and go. This is a wonderful look for a cut for a look like that. So I want to talk about the feather blade for a second. So notice that when I hold the feather blade, when I go to cut, notice that I flip it around, but I take my finger out of the hole and I use it almost like I'm writing with a pencil. All right, so put the camera in here. So the way I've had it described is if the finger's in the hole, sometimes it's almost trying to write with a pencil, that you're holding at the very end of the pencil. So when you hold it right here, I have a lot more dexterity and I have a lot more control over the blade. I can really be in tune with how it feels and how the hair is peeling off. But sometimes there's nothing wrong with this. But if my fingers are way out here, I feel kind of disconnected. So this is like, know the rules to break the rules. But right here, I can do this all day long and I can really hear it, I can feel it, and I'm really in tune with my tool. So the tool is supposed to work for you. You're not working for the tool. So make sure that you're working really fluidly, but with intention. All right, last section, front here, out 90 degrees, towards the front of the face, 3.5 inches, peel that out. All right, so now I'm gonna over direct everything forward, and just like I said on the other side, I know some of you had just jumped on, I really want to open up her face, so I'm gonna over direct everything forward. And I know I took the mental note that on the other side it started about 1.5 inches. I pull this towards her nose, front of her face, and about 1.5 inches I start peeling that out. I'm gonna work that down, over directing towards the face, and just peeling that out. So as you can see, you can have all these tendrily pieces that are coming across here. Very soft shape. You can see that the wind could blow this and it would look really nice. And just like the other side, I just want to open it up a little bit more on the face. So I'm going to go in there and just add a little bit of intentional texture and a little bit in the lower section. Over directing towards the face, and just opening that up just a little bit. All right, you guys like what you're seeing? It's that nice little shaggy feel to it. All right, working towards the top. Now, one of the reasons I started with I have a straight blade razor. I also have this razor, the feather razor. And one of the reasons I chose to use this is that I wanted to show you guys this technique. That's really fun to use by the chair. I was taught it really early in my career, and I've used it literally almost every single day behind the chair. So I wanted to show it to you. With the class, I always think if you learn 1 or 2 things that you think you might try, that's a win. I'm not going to teach you how to cut hair in an hour presentation. But what I can do is give you some tips and tricks and ideas of things that you can add to your own tool belt, which I think is pretty rad. So this is one of those things that has proven success for myself. I'm going to take that maybe just a hair skinnier. Please her down just a little bit. There we go. And we'll lower this just a touch. All right. So now that I'm comfortable, make this just a little skinnier, approximately about 1/2 inch in width. So this will be my stationary guide for the rest of the top. I'm going to find this previously cut guide on this section right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the new and a little bit of the old. There we go. There's quite long on top. See my guide right there. I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch there because what you'll see is I'm just going to peel that off. It's really fun to watch. And at this point, actually, I'm going to just trade out my razor real fast because I want this to be wicked sharp for you guys so you guys can see. Always disposing in these nice sanitized safe containers, adding a new blade, using the fine tooth of my comb. See a really clear guide here. What you'll notice is I stop. Notice that there's about 1/4 inch here because I want to follow the round of the head, so I don't want it to get perpetually longer. So if you have a sharp blade, what you'll find is that the hair will just beautifully peel off. And if you ever want to get some oohs and ahs out of your client, they think this is so rad, especially some of your male guests. Basically, you're flinging a razor around and they're seeing a technique they've never seen before, which makes you look like the expert that you are. So this is a central guide. So I'll face her towards you. So what I'm gonna do is just very seamlessly push that to one side. So this is gonna be super easy to follow. I'm gonna wet her down just a little bit. All right, so going to the head shape real quick. So now that we've reached the top, notice that this kind of follows the head shape. It's gonna be very round. And if you're looking directly at her profile, it's also very round. So this is the central guide. I'm kind of gonna follow that and kind of arc around to that head shape, and on the opposite side also. So starting in the back, this is where it gets super simple. I'm gonna start, I took a vertical section, the back of the crown to the tip of the nose to the front hairline. And now I'm taking this guide that's gonna be super clear, letting that cascade out. And notice I'm following head shape, so it's a nice round layer on top. So I'm gonna do these very skinny, but I'm not gonna take any of the previously cut section because I have a very clear guide. So notice that little bit of leeway there. So this is going to be a little bit disconnected from the side because that will lay right over that, but then you're going to get the lift from that underneath part. Any questions?
So you're never carrying the previous section into the next, you just always drop it?
I'm dropping it because I have my really clear traveling guideline, which basically means though that I am taking very small sections so that I stay really on point, and then I'm going to double check everything at the end. But because I have this nice, beautiful traveling guideline, I know what I'm creating very nice round layers. It's really easy to stay on point. Making sure there's no over direction. Elevation is at 90 degrees. Super fun to cut like this. So just know that my intention, I'm not like grabbing hardcore onto the razor. It just peels right off because it's so wicked sharp. There is a guard on this razor. So obviously you would never try this without a guard. Comb that completely away, working towards the front. Once again, thank you to my buddy that's videoing this right now. Those were not here at the very beginning. His name's Travis. He's an all-star barber here in town, here in Eugene. He's been published many times. He's a hair friend. We're gonna do some collabs here in the future to create some photo shoots, which we're super jazzed about. But follow him, please, Travis Anthony Hair. So you guys see that guide really clearly? Notice I don't put my fingers completely to the guide because when I do this peeling technique, I need a little bit of leeway. Last section, the very front here, taking it directly off the head shape, 90 degrees. So this is where the cropped feel comes because this will be very layered on top, which basically a shag haircut at the end of the day is a very layered haircut. I don't mean to overly simplify, but sometimes those simple statements are like, oh, aha. Sometimes my shags are not coming out because I'm not layering as much as it should. And also a shag haircut should usually be layered from the lowest part near the perimeter all the way to the top. And the top layer should actually be quite short. And so sometimes we kind of struggle to create these looks. And the reality is we're just not being aggressive enough. We're kind of groomed. Go ahead.
Somebody wanted me to show this so they could take a picture of it.
Awesome. And if it would help anybody, I can post this on my story, specifically the head sheet, and so you guys can just take a snapshot of it. So going to the opposite side, which is really cool, is that this becomes bordering, like just connect the dots. I love having a really clear guide because there's no guesswork. Because it's not lost on me that when you're behind the chair, you're hustling. Sometimes you get a meal a day, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you could use the restroom, sometimes you don't. But I just know that if you have conversations that are happening with your coworkers and clients, sometimes it's hard to stay focused. But if you have a really clear guide, a really clear intention, and you're starting with the end in mind, and you have a really good like diagram in your head of what you're trying to create and who you're creating it on, you're gonna be golden. But if you get lost in the haircut, you get frustrated or you get distracted, I know that most hairstylists I know pretty much all have like adult ADD, like myself. So the clearer the guide, the more intention goes behind staying on point. So you don't end up doing like 2 or 3 haircuts. All right, Travis, how are we doing for time?
We are at 11:50.
11:50?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, until an hour or?
Yeah, about 10 minutes. 10 minutes away from an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so coming up here, I'm gonna do a little work on the fringe, and then I'm gonna show you a dry rendition of this exact cut. So coming around to the front, just about 2 more sections, just always staying at 90 degrees from the head shape, doing these round layers on top. I'm using that central guide, always has a really clear reference point. And because I'm using the razor, I'm getting kind of like this cool textured effect on the ends. And because it's quite layered, like we talked about with the shag haircuts, you're gonna get a lot of shape, a lot of movement, a lot of versatility, very relevant, very like salon-friendly haircut.
So once you get to the fringe, are you doing any over direction or just pulling it 90 straight out from the scalp?
I am pulling it 90 out from the scalp, but as I come to the front, what I'm gonna do is just a little bit of refining. So it's a great question. So what I want to do here, just like on the sides here, if you haven't watched the haircut, this is going to be posted on Arnco's page indefinitely. If you guys want to see a little bit of a how to cut fringe trick, or how much to cut, a trick is, I'm going to push her to the side here. If you put the comb right over her front hairline, where that lifts up, that means that gravity is naturally working for you. So right where that point is right there, that's where you want to start your fringe. And that's a universal thing. So once again, you put the comb up right where it lets off the head, that's where I want to part the hair. I'm going to comb that directly out of the way. So I just want to open up the face a little bit, almost thinking of curtain fringe, something that's very popular right now. I'm going to add just a touch of water. I'm going to finish the fringe, and I'm going to show you an end result of the look that we created today. So parting down the middle. Grabbing my razor. Keeping it super clean. Take a diagonal section. I'm going to over direct it. Here, look for this side, right in the middle of her eyebrow on the opposite side. I'm going to lift it up at 45-degree angle. And I'm going to etch that out with over directing towards that opposite eye. So then I'm going to take another diagonal section. Do the same thing. See the guide, pull it out and just kind of etch that out. So whenever you over direct the hair, it's going to push away in the opposite direction. So also you're going to open up that face, but then you're going to have this extra long hair over here that you're preserving, which gives you that curtainy kind of effect. So once again, seeing that and etching that out. This is where I feel like Bob Ross. So I love that, just like that little nice, beautiful cascading effect, which really is consistent with the whole overall haircut. Consistency is key, as we've said many times. All right, weighing the hair down again. I'm going to reestablish how much fringe I want. I'm going to put a clip in there. Any questions? So on the opposite side, how I get balance is I take that similar diagonal effect on the opposite side. I'm going to stand over here. I'm going to look where that middle eyebrow is. I'm going to lift it up at 45 degrees. The elevation helps to add softness. I just take it section by section, another diagonal section, over directing towards the opposite eye, right in that mid eyebrow. I lift it up at 45-degree angle. I kind of chew that right out. And lastly, pulling all that hair, over directing it towards the opposite eye, elevating at 45-degree angle, and hitching it up. So this is a beautiful way to create a curtain fringe and have balance from side to side. All right, this is the time where I'm going to take all the clips out, let her down a little bit. I would say that one of the crucial things I find with my clients is they need coaching on how to style their hair. And sometimes you'll have these girls in here, and what they'll do is they'll want to always push it back because that's what they've always done. But to get these really modern looks, you need to push it from where the cowlick starts towards the front and really go with the growth patterns. And you'll end up getting more of that volume and more of a modern flair on these haircuts. So you'll see these tendrily bits. At the end here, I'm going to transition her. You'll be able to see her. So this is the haircut. So notice that you have no hard lines, very soft, very lip, kind of like soft tendrily bits of the hair. What I did at the very end is I will take a little bit of this off when it's dry, but I want actually to keep as much of the length as possible. So you can see that kind of opening up, so you get that nice little shaggy effect. I don't know about you guys, but I love that. Here is the end result. Let me grab that real quick for you. Put it up right there. So this has little to no product in it. Has a little bit of the thickening mousse by Arnco, but let's look at that texture. You have these bits, these little tendrily bits that are really popular right now. Opening up that face, and everything just looks really organic. They look really soft, very like lived in, very fun, but also you're preserving that length in that kind of shaggy manner. As you come to the side, what you'll notice is that it's kind of skinnier down below, but then you have like this really cool, fun texture that you can kind of like make bigger if you want. So what do you guys think? You think you'll use some of these techniques? Wish I could hear your voices.
There's been a few people that saying that they're happy. They're gonna go try this out.
Awesome. With something like this, with a little bit of product, which I'll use right now, what I'm going to try is, this is the dried texture cream. It's called Sandcastle. This is from Arnco. What I'm going to do, like any dried texture cream, I'm going to take about a finger amount. I'm going to emulsify in my hands, and like a sandcastle, can you hear the grit? Yeah. So I'm going to take my fingertips, just get really deep in there. Kind of start off with kind of a lighter touch. What I'm looking for is that nice, you can kind of really see this come alive. So you guys see that? You guys should just can imagine it's like the back comes around, you can kind of see it kind of cascading around the front, kind of gets that dry bits, that dry texture is super popular right now. So, all right guys, from Travis, from myself, from Arnco, we wish you well. We hope you learned some new tips and tricks that are super relevant for you behind the chair. If you haven't watched the whole video, this will be on the Arnco's Facebook page. So from Jesse Gaines here at Moss Hair Studio, I wish you the best. Thank you guys.